welcome to a preview of the Spring Mixology Hacking Live cocktail tasting happening on Saturday, May 7th. So in this video, I wanted to show you the first cocktail that you're going to get to taste at the event. This cocktail is Sakura. It's a light, fizzy springtime, light citrusy cocktail. On top of getting you excited for this event, I also wanted to show you how this cocktail is made so you could do a similar cocktail at home. This cocktail is incredibly simple to do, and you only need a few ingredients to do a very similar cocktail or a variation of your choosing at home. So this particular cocktail follows the sour style structure. So what you're gonna need is 2 ounces of whatever spirit that you're using. For the cocktail at the event, we're gonna be using Matsu Gin, which is a gin made with cherry blossoms, or Sakura, which is the main taste that I want you to get out of the cocktail. And we're gonna add 2 ounces to the cocktail shaker. This is kind of the main key ingredient of the cocktail. It's gonna give you the taste of the cherry blossoms. It's also gonna give you a little bit of taste of the pear, yuzu zest, green tea, and pepper as well. To complement the gin, I'm gonna be using a Sakura Syrup, which is preserved cherry blossoms from Kyoto that I've turned into a simple syrup. And you're gonna need 3/4 of an ounce of this syrup. This is a 50 degrees brick syrup, so it's equal weight of sugar and water. And this could be any syrup that you have at home. Next, for the citrus aspect of this cocktail, it's gonna really help bring a lot of the different notes from the gin as well as the cherry blossom forward. I'm gonna be using a citrus from Japan called Daidai. It's basically a species of bitter orange, and we're gonna be using 3/4 of an ounce of this. I'm sure many of you have never tasted or even heard of Daidai before. So as a species of bitter orange, it does have that typical orange notes to it. It also has some bitterness to it, which I would describe closely to being like a grapefruit, but even more bitter than that. And then on top of that, there's even tastes of yuzu zest and lime zest in there as well. So that's your structure for your basic sour style cocktail. 2 ounces of spirit, 3/4 ounce of syrup, and 3/4 ounce of sour. Now with this cocktail, the Daidai does not have a low enough pH to actually balance out this much sugar, and I did want to include this quantity of the Sakura syrup so that you could really taste those cherry blossom notes. So what I'm going to be adding is phosphoric acid. This acid was used back in the day in those classic soda bars and gives you the taste of these old school sodas. It also removes a lot of the tannins from the syrup, and this syrup is made in a way like tea. So if you have any tea syrup, or for example this syrup right here with the cherry blossoms, it actually helps remove some of the tannins and bitterness from the cocktail and brings those notes forward. And per 1 ounce of syrup, we're going to need about 4 drops. So I'm just going to put in 3 drops of phosphoric acid into the cocktail as well. Now the cocktail is properly balanced and the notes of the cherry blossom are really lifted forward. Now, ideally for cocktail making, what you want to do is when you're shaking a cocktail, you want 120 grams of ice, and you want them to be in the shape of 4 1¼ inch by 1¼ inch by 1¼ inch cubes. That is the ideal shape for when you're shaking and diluting. Also the ideal weight for adding the proper amount of water to your cocktail as well. But let's say, for example, we don't have those ice cubes. You can still make a great cocktail at home simply just by weighing out whatever ice that you have at 120 grams. Let's say we only have these half moon shapes. We can just add in 120 grams of this ice, and it should give us a very similar dilution. Now we put on the top of our shaker, and the way we want to shake, especially when we don't have quality ice, is just by rolling the shaker back and forth. Rather than just shaking it hard like this, you're going to break down the ice a lot faster, and with poor ice, it will add more water to your cocktail, which could make it taste weak. So just back and forth for about 10 seconds. So one of the advantages that you have at home is that you can put your glassware in the freezer just like this. Helps keep your cocktail nice and cold for much longer. The glassware that you're going to want to use is a champagne flute, and the reason is because this cocktail is going to be using soda water or any kind of carbonated cocktail. You're going to want to put it into a champagne flute. After double straining the cocktail into the glass so that you don't get any of those ice shards in there, we're gonna add in 3 ounces of soda water, You can either measure it out, or if you already know where about 3 ounces is in your glass, you can just freely pour it in. You'll notice there's still some space in between the liquid and the top of the glass here. That's what they call that head space. And in a glass like this is very important. That's gonna really help you smell this cocktail, which is the whole point of putting carbonated beverages into champagne flutes. Why do we drink champagne in a champagne glass? It's specifically for smelling it, and smell is very important when tasting because 80% of our taste comes from our smell. Now, the last thing that I'll do at the event is I will actually be adding in a pickled cherry blossom leaf or pickled sakura leaf to the cocktail as the garnish. It's gonna really give you those aromas of the cherry blossom trees. However, I don't have this garnish yet. It's still on its way from Japan, but you can add in any sort of garnish that you want, either citrus zest or any other fruit or whatever you want to add onto your glass to garnish it. But this is the proper way to do a fizz style cocktail. No, put in a Collins glass. And here, the tasting notes are gonna be a lot better because you're gonna smell the cocktail a lot better. When smelling the cocktail, the cherry blossom and the orange from the Daidai should be the two immediate things that you'd smell. On the palate, the way that the cocktail is set up, because it's so simple, you really get to taste each of those unique flavors that's coming from the gin, the cherry blossom, the Daidai. These are 3 unique Japanese ingredients that I did not want to overpower by making an overly complicated cocktail. Something simple like this really helps you experience each of these 3 components, and it's going to be a really nice, refreshing way to start off the event. So cheers, that's how you make this kind of cocktail, and I hope to see you at the event. There's a link down below this video, or if you're on Instagram or Facebook, there's going to be a link in the bio where you can go and purchase your ticket to the Spring Mixology Hacking cocktail tasting. Cheers, and I hope to see you there.